Hello Anglophonians, and welcome to another episode where we normally take a look at European comics, but this time it's the EUROPA-PARK's turn again. We take a look at the year 1980 in the history of the park. So let's do it! So we're entering the 1980s in the history of the Europa-Park, so let's try something new. Callum, will you take over?
I'm very happy to take over. So we are in 1980 and Europa-Park is celebrating its first anniversary, 5 years. We have already learned in this series that the name Europa-Park came up while looking for a location and that they wanted to create a corresponding concept. So the history was opposite to the history that the Disney parks had, for example. First, there were Disney stories from the realm of fantasy. Then Walt Disney had the idea of building a park where children could meet all the characters from fantasy in reality. And there would be appropriate attractions, like at a fair. A detailed history of the Disney parks can be found on the YouTube channel Defunctland, for example. With Europa-Park, it was the other way around. First, the idea of building a theme park arose. Then the idea of the concept came when the name Europa-Park was decided. But in the first few years, the concept in the park was not yet uniform. If we look at this old park map from 1977, we can see that there are individual attractions that have names of European countries, such as the Finnish raft ride, or that various European landmarks were set up in the mini-golf course. But that was all for now. That was about to change in the 1980s. In 1980, the part of the castle park of Balthazar Castle, which directly bordered the building, was added as a major expansion. A Garden of Peace was created here, because when the right to buy the castle was secured, it was recorded in the land register that no loud rides would be built on this property. After all, this was the border of the park, and right next to it was the village. Residents should not be bothered by noise. The castle was extensively renovated, and a restaurant with a knight's hall was set up in the basement. Later, events also took place here, such as the so-called Knight's Supper, during which guests were served dishes from the Middle Ages and had to eat them the way of knights. This meant that there was only one knife as cutlery, because skewering food with forks was frowned upon for a long time. An apartment was set up in other parts of the castle, into which Jürgen Mack, the brother of the park's co-founder Roland Mack, finally moved in with his family. So you can say that Europa-Park has a real castle that was also inhabited by real nobles for a long time. As a further attraction, a mini-scooter for small children was opened, and a carousel called Red Baron was opened nearby. The fighter pilot Manfred von Richthofen became known during the First World War under the name Red Baron because his biplane was painted red. As you saw, it was a carousel in which the children sat in small double-deckers. Planning continued behind the scenes. Franz Mack met the German stage architect Ulrich Damrau, and he was supposed to plan the park's next major project, an entire themed area designed after a European country, and we'll see what came of it.
So there you have it, the year 1980 in the development or history or whatever you want to call it of the Europa-Park. Next time we take another look at another comic series. Until then, take good care of yourself and see you.